Today's episode of ARC, Igor and I are recording in English. This is our first attempt, so we hope you like it. This is Igor.
It's me. So, my first question to you. Well, in the former Soviet Union states, we celebrate New Year, not Christmas. And by this time, we still celebrate New Year, and Christmas is some celebration class B. Yona, you are for 15 years away from Russia, and do you still celebrate New Year, not Christmas, or you began to celebrate Christmas like the rest of the world?
Thanks for questioning it. That's actually interesting because Meg and I always think about it. When the time comes in December, she being being from North America, she doesn't like saying that she's from Canada, so I'm just kind of generalizing that she's from North America. So being from North America, she obviously was celebrating Christmas. I was celebrating, and you just said New Year's. Of course, what New Year's for me is childhood and Yolka, the tree. Parents who love you, at least that you think that they love you. Memories, it's all that is good. The same thing for Meg. She misses that time, I imagine, and she misses the feeling of safety, of the delusions, of the dreams. And for many years, I was wondering what the hell to do with Christmas, because neither of us actually feel anything about religion. We're not religious. We're rational. And what we do now is that we're celebrating both. And when we do, Christmas for us really is, there is a Poirot of Agatha Christie. It's a BBC TV series. So for us, Christmas is that episode of Poirot and Poirot. And we're watching it. We're having a special dinner. Maybe we'll have a bottle of wine. And that's Christmas for us. But we absolutely resent the commercial aspect of Christmas, because in North America, as you know, I imagine, maybe less so in Europe, it's all about buying stuff. It's all about buying more and more stuff to give to your friends or relatives that they simply will throw away later on. Mm-hmm. And we just can't stand that. We're absolutely not participating in it. So Christmas for us is just quiet evening, quiet dinner with a bottle of wine and Poirot's Christmas episode, and that's it. And New Year for me, this time we celebrated New Year on Azores Islands time, because we were already tired, so we went to bed about 10 o'clock here local time. So we kind of both holidays kind of merged into one for us, but it has nothing to do with religion whatsoever. It has everything to do with celebrating life. I would say like that.
Yeah, celebrating life. I very much like the old movie Wonderful Life, not because of there is an angel who just falls down to earth and must save some lost soul, but as a such cozy feeling. Well, you think when you look at those moving pictures, it was better times, but it's self-delusion, because everything that was before, always you perceive everything that was before as some ideal which we lost. But it's not like, yeah. But the feeling that old movies
Comes in your inside, yeah,
which those movies tend to born inside. They're very, very cozy and warm, And that's why I like The Wonderful Life. It's one of the coziest Christmas movies I know.
Well, of course, I mean, because really, when you kind of strip it of religious meaning, because I don't think actually lots of people think about Christmas as a religious holiday. Well, at
Yeah.
least not that I know. Not none of the people that I know.
In
But
America,
anyway, so I
Xmas,
think it's really about people getting together,
not to
people
mention Christ.
living in the world that can happen if only we were better, if only the humanity was better. It's really living in the dream, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, sure. In USA, they tend to say Xmas, not Christmas, not to mention Christ, but to mention the celebration. I think so.
I was thinking about Russians, and I'm wondering, where is that attitude comes in Russians that the whole world is against us? What do you think about it? Like,
Oh,
isn't that kind of crazy? Where does it come from?
it comes from, I guess, from the Middle Ages, from Ivan the Terrible and Oprichnina. It's a very, very old saying, or um, the common feeling for Russians that everyone is against us, because especially after Peter the Great, Russia is an expanding empire, uh, and empire tend to expand. And when you expand, you don't, you can't expect from the people you want to conquer. And it would be very strange if those nations who are conquered or who are in conflict with Russia would perceive Russia as a friendly state. And when someone perceives you as a warring state, as an aggressive state, you yourself, the aggressive state, tend to think that those who are around you, they just want to make you harm, because they would be friendly if they didn't meant to do you harm. So, and there is a feeling of besieged castle where everything around is against us, and it is so by today, because we want to expand, and those who don't want for us to expand, they of course they don't perceive us as a friendly state, and it's hard for them to be friendly toward us. And Russia is in its normal state, thinks that everyone who is not friendly, so, well, they are want us harm, and it's just a closed circle. When we do the aggression, everybody else have a bad attitude toward us, and we perceive it as an aggression toward us. That's all. I think that's how you can break the circle. You just need for Russian Federation to fall apart, for it not to be an empire and not to be a warring state, and for Moscow, for Siberia, for Urals, for some Far East, Far East, to be independent states who are not who do not want to go to war, and who want to develop their own economies, and not their armies. I think about it. What do you expect from the new 2023? And how do you perceive what will be for you and Meg in this year?
So the question is, you're asking how I see 2023 for Meg and I, not for the rest of the world.
Yeah.
My small dream is that we will leave Panama, hopefully without dying, because the chances are we will have to do it by the boat, by this sailboat that we've been on for nearly 17 years. And hopefully we will get to the country. Well, I can't actually see far beyond. The only next step that we can kind of plan towards to right now is Bahamas, because that's because we need to fix the boat. But without fixing the boat, we simply can't get anywhere further than Bahamas. Well, limping. I mean, the boat is falling apart. Nearly every system is broken up. Nowhere. I mean, you're looking at everything. Everything is falling apart. This is the best corner I chose. The corner that wasn't damaged yet. But anyway, and so yeah, Bahamas is going to be our next step. After that, we have no idea. We thought about Scotland. We're thinking about Montenegro because that's the only place where I, on the sailboat, can actually reach by sailboat, because there is no other coast in the world except maybe Black Sea that I can go to. That's the reality. And some African countries, obviously, we don't want to go to Africa. We're sick of being in exile. We want to get to the place that we can call home, to the place where people will welcome us, will know us. We're tired of not knowing anybody. We want to have friends. We want to have community. We want to speak people at the table, drink with them, cry with them, listen songs with them. We had enough of exile, especially we had enough of exile in the countries that we have nothing in common with, like Latin America. We're dying here. So I cannot predict much. The only thing I see right now is Bahamas, where we can fix the boat.
Oh, and
that's it for now.
And after that, to the old world, I think. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think that the only option for us right now to reach the countries that we might want to settle is by sailboat. I don't see any other option right now.
Yeah. So,
and it means that we'll have to cross the ocean. It means that we have to cross Atlantic.
Yeah, sure.
On this boat.
And, Montenegro is Chernogorия, I guess.
Uh-huh.
Oh, so...
Yeah, Montenegro, yeah.
Well, we spoke now proudly about Chernogorия. What do you think? Is Meg against Montenegro?
Yeah, she's standing right beside this telephone, is kind of smirking. Yeah, I think she's what we have kind of different views of Montenegro. I get my information from the internet and from you. She gets her information from whatever she heard before, and so she thinks that it's all Russian mob. So all the oligarchs go to Montenegro. So what would you say to her about that?
I haven't seen oligarchs. I'm not in Montenegro, but I'm close. I'm in Serbia. I can say that. I haven't seen mobs or Russian oligarchs. Well, the mentality of the people here are not absolutely European, but they are open, they are smiling, they love children, and they're definitely not bad, and they're definitely better than Russians. I can say that for sure.
I would like to ask you, talking about children, so you say they like children. What about women who don't want to have children? How do they like them?
I guess there is no prejudice about this. They just live and let live, and then let others be. But, well, of course, in Serbia, there is an frozen armed conflict on the border of Serbia and Kosovo, and there are Serbian nationalists who want Kosovo back. But I guess it's going to work out somehow, and they don't want to start another war. And if we talk about other sides of the story, it's a peaceful country. There are good people. Well, I was the day before yesterday in the meat shop where there was a Serbian man who said to me, "Oh, are you Russian or are you Ukrainian?" Of course, in Serbian, because they don't know English here, because it's a village, a small village where I live now. And I said, yeah, I'm Russian. I said, oh, that's great. Well, because Ukraine is with NATO now, and we don't like NATO here because NATO grabbed Kosovo from us, and they make provocation there. You see, they're very inclined towards Russia, not because they like Putin, not because they like Putin's war, but because Russia supported them in the 90s when NATO bombed Belgrade, when there was a Milosevic regime. Other than that, it's a normal European country with Yugoslavian mentality, and Yugoslavian mentality is different from the rest of Europe, of course.
Yeah, I like how we're talking. It's terrific to hear you speaking English. This is good practice for you. I actually really think that if we keep speaking English, we will kick ass.
That's right.
So, okay, next question to you then. So, next question to you. Another Russian attitude. I actually feel the same way. The need of tsar. Why do Russians need so-called strong leader to govern them?
Well, because Russians never knew anything. Never knew a regime that wasn't autocratic. There always was a strong man. It was in Russian Empire days. It was in Soviet days when there were Genseks, general secretary of the party, was an absolute ruler. And after that, there was one president, Boris Yeltsin, as you know, who at the end of his rule was close to the absolute ruler because the constitution was made for him. It was a presidential constitution. And that presidential constitution was abused by Putin, and we could predict that. But, we haven't predicted that, and we are on the same page as we were many times in history before. So, just Russians, they just don't know anything about autocracy. And that... in many countries, in many Western countries, in 20th century, the democratic rule after the First World War, it's became normal, and they've paced through the last century, building their democracies. Russia didn't build their democracy, and they haven't managed to do it in the 21st century. And I guess, everything lies on the shoulders of propaganda. If propaganda says that Americans and Europeans are our friends, then you can see in the social polls that Russians perceive America and Europe as friendly states. But if propaganda tells them that we are at war with the West, that West is bad, that there is no democracy, and that is just a fake, Well, Russians happily perceive it as the right point of view. And we just need to turn the propaganda around. And I guess to launch counter propaganda as it was in Nazi Germany in the middle of 20th century. Well, denazification, it is very much needed for Russia now. And I don't know how to do it. Well, it's a hard way for our country, and I guess it won't be quick, you know. But that's the answer to your question.
Igor, I'm sure our Western viewers would like to know why you're hiding behind Shrek's mask. Please explain it to them.
Okay, that's easy. Well, nobody pursue me now. Well, I'm not a very notorious man in Russia, but I work for Russian media, still work, and I get my salary to my Russian bank account. And if someone will recognize me, and that's easy when you are not behind the mask, they can just begin repressions towards me. That's not something that will be not something unexpected for me. It's just a precaution. I don't want to endanger me and my family in such a way. You know, Russian dissidents who make blogs, they still, many of them, tend to demonstrate as they call it in Russian, yemala. There's yemala. It's a text that this person is an foreign agent. It's by Russian state. It is recognized they're recognized as a foreign agent. They need to do this, not to get persecuted in Russia because they have their accounts there, their relatives there, and they just don't want to do harm to them and to themselves. That's why I hide behind the mask, because we talk on the sensitive matters that could harm me and my family. That's all. Let's pretend that you've settled down somewhere in Scotland, in the Montenegro. I don't know. What's next? How do you see your life after that?
Thanks for the question. We'll think about it a lot. You see, our life on the run for so many years have changed us so drastically that it's very difficult for us to fit into the modern way of living of human way of living, because at least that's how we see it from where we are, is that being a person on this planet right now means being a consumer. So, having a house, having cars, having dogs, stuffing your house and or apartment with things, it's always things. I've seen in Canada, we see people changing appliances constantly. They dumping them, not because they don't work anymore, they dumping them because they're, let's say, I don't know, maybe 5 years old. And it all goes to landfill. We're sick of it. We're sick of Earth's pollution. We're sick of irresponsibility of people. We can't consciously become consumers anymore. Not only because we're responsible for Earth, or we feel responsible for this planet, it's simply because it gives us no joy. We hate it. I mean, we actually, one of our dreams is never to find ourselves in the mall again. It's awful. And that's why we actually don't mind the idea of Scotland or Montenegro, because they are so far away from consumption, from the centers of consumption, because the cities, big cities to us, is simply gigantic centers of consumption. And also and part of it has to do with the car. I mean, look at the planet. It's nothing but cars and highways. You dreaming about America, you haven't seen nothing yet. You haven't been there, I don't think, because you will have to put up with being a chauffeur 24/7, and I don't think you'll like it very much.
Yeah, I know that. I know it perfectly, and that's one of the backsides of the American way of life. The constant the automobile state where you everything you do, you can do it on foot, on bicycle, or you just need a car, and there are almost no place for people. The cars everywhere. That's awful. Yes, I guess. But I very fond of American mentality and American democracy, because, as I said in the previous episodes, well, to be an American for me is that you can be everyone you want to be, and well, their pursuit for freedom is not always not always productive, because everyone perceives freedom in their own way. But freedom it is, and that's what I want. I want freedom. I want freedom, and for everyone not to show their nose in my business.
I know what you mean, Igor. I completely understand you. The thing is, the main freedom that America gives you is the freedom to drive. So ask yourself this question: are you willing to spend about 6 hours a day stuck in the car in the traffic? That's, I think, what you should think before you're dreaming of America.
Well, yeah, no. I don't dream of living there seriously. I just
With the idea.
see it from afar, because that's how it looks for me. I know about automobile states pretty much. I've watched many blogs. I've read many things. I watch CNN, and I watch Fox News, and I watch and I read the Los Angeles Times, and New York Times, and Washington Post. I just I have a complete picture of USA. I just want to go there someday. I just want to see how it works by myself, and after that, I work out. Do I want to live there or not? I guess nobody wants USA now, because it's hardest country for Russians to get in now, as it was before.
Well, hopefully, Igor, you will be able to visit it as a tourist at least.
Yeah.
But back to your question about what's next. Let's say if Meg and I settle, we're dreaming of a hotel, believe it or not. We don't want just to have a property. We want this property to be a part of our dream. And our dream is to have if it's Scotland, that might be a pub, say. If it's Montenegro, we're dreaming of having maybe, or I don't know, maybe Meg doesn't share my dream, but we're dreaming about something that has to do with agriculture. Like, for instance, I would like to have goats, at least few of them. Simple cottage, maybe a bit of land around that, and grow maybe even our food. maybe we will think about the hotel if we have the money for that. But I would love the idea of bringing Russians, obviously, kinds of guys like you who think like me, who share the same views, and showing them things that I know I love. And Meg's dream is to have a vineyard in France. She's been there, she loves France, she lived there for a few years, and that's her dream. So we have dreams about land. We just need to realize them.
You can start with Montenegro. It's easiest way, I think. And there are no aggressive mobsters there. At least not as much as in every country in the world.
Igor, question to you. I think it will be the last question today. So Meg asks me, obviously, we're looking at the Germany, Nazi Germany in 40s, and we're looking at what Russia is doing right now, which is hideous. Obviously, it's clear to anybody that these are war crimes. Now, she's wondering how Russians will be treated, any Russian, anywhere on the planet. How will they be treated by the rest of the world, considering this war, considering what we are doing in Ukraine?
Well, in many European countries, in many former Soviet Union countries, especially in Georgia, they obviously many people with active political views. Of course, they not just don't like Russia, they tend to mock Russians, and they tend to say rude things to Russians. That's how it was after the war. I guess I've told you about about how the rest of the Europe treated Germans after the Second World War, when in 60s, 20th century, the pair of Germans, they stopped at the highway somewhere in France, and their car was broken, and nobody wanted to help them. That's it. That's the cost of Nazism, fascism. It's the cost of the aggressive attitude towards other nations. And, other nations don't want to be aggressive towards anyone, the peaceful nations. But then the line is crossed, we get what we deserve. I guess that's it. I don't like it. I don't think that everyone in Russia deserved that. But you can't just как бы это разделить. You can divide good Russians from bad Russians, because bad Russians are everywhere and everyone sees them. And the so-called good Russians, they are such a small bunch, and almost nobody sees them, and now perceive them with caution and without trust here.
Listen, Igor, I wanted to ask the next question. I wanted to leave for the next episode, but I figure I'll ask you now because it's pretty important. Okay. So you're talking about there is a big bunch of bad Russians and there is a smaller bunch of good Russians. So those bad Russians, they support war? Is it because they actually want Ukrainian blood? Or we can somehow justify their desire for war? And if that justification would be, what would that be? Like, simply, can we forgive Russians for wanting war? Can we just say, well, they have their own reasons because they have their own fears? So, why do Russians want war with Ukraine?
Most of the Russians don't want. Bad Russians, so-called. Good Russians, of course, don't want war. I say bad Russians and good Russians, meaning how the other nations perceive us now as bad, and is not how we perceive ourselves. It's not about being bad or being good. It's very complex thing. But let's talk about so-called bad Russians. I mean, Russians who just support war, or just think that everything is not is not so one-sided, and Russia is right in its own way. Well, I've said later that earlier. I've said earlier that Russians never knew anything but autocratic rulers. They they easily perceive other nations as an enemy if they are if their own country, if the propaganda of their own country says them that there are enemies. Most of them just brainwashed by the propaganda, and they definitely think that, well, if president says that NATO is close to our borders, then sometime NATO can attack us. Well, not for sure, but well, we have our interest in our national interest. So, and in the conception that that autocratic ruler is always right, and it's in the brains of many Russians. Well, our ruler knows best, and we're just pawns, and not we just pawns. Everyone, every people, every man in the world is just a pawn of their rulers. And that's how the world works, they think. It's how the world works. The great people make politics, and we're small people. We just make what great people want from us, and they know best. I don't know what to do about it, but it's not they want their Ukrainian blood. They're just educated in that way, and they don't know anything else. And the propaganda have awoken the worst things in Russian mentality, and that's what we get when we wake those things, I guess.
Igor, so we're wrapping up this episode today. What would you say, well, let's say kind of like at the end of what I spoke today, what would you say to our Western viewers? Like, what words would you find for them at this moment in history kind of thing?
Well, I think it's about my own interests or the interests of my friends or so-called good Russians. I just want to say that, well, not everyone in Russia is brainwashed. Not everyone wants an empire. Well, many of so-called good Russians still have those imperial mindset. Yep. And that's very bad. Well, but when Hitler died and the Second World War ended, well, you haven't isolated Germany. You haven't killed all Germans or haven't thrown them into poverty. You just made a Marshall Plan for Germany, for them to be the part of the West, to have the economy which suits the higher standards of living. And you at the end, you just forgave Germans, and the Germans, they know that they've been bad guys, and they know it by now, and they still teach their children that they were the villains of the Europe. And that began not not right after the Second World War ended. It was a long process for the nation, to heal the nation. And I just want to, well, I feel myself that this is the atrocities my country does now. They somehow relate to me too. That's why I want just to ask forgive me and my friends for not being able to do something about it. Well, Ukrainians say that Russians could go out in the streets and to change everything. No, Russians can't do that. Well, there was a chance. I think there was a chance, but we've just, missed it. It was in early 2010s. Missed it. I think there is a slave mentality of Russian people who just, I've just said before how that works. That there are great people who do great things, and there are small people who just can't do anything about it. Well, we need to heal. We need to be forgiven, and that will be after this awful war. And I want my country to be defeated. I want my country to be occupied. I guess it's not possible, but I want it. For it to heal, it needs to be occupied as it was with Nazi Germany. And I guess that's all. And I can just ask for you to forgive those Russians who couldn't do anything, because we couldn't have done something about this war, at least. Not Putin at his inception, but for this war we could do nothing. That's hard truth.
I just want to add from myself that I want exactly the same thing that you just said to happen to my country. I want it to stop existing.
Yeah.
I want it to cease existing as it is now. Well, thank you for watching us today, viewers. Hopefully you liked what we said. See you another time. Hi, bye.
Yeah.
Bye.